Welcome back to our part 3 of building our own ChatGPT AI chatbot. So in this part, I'm going to show you how to use Node.js as your backend to connect to the AI API. So you know the reason we are using backend. We can just connect to the AI chatbot or API through our JavaScript here, but we need to secure our API key not to be public on the browser, because anybody, if we run it here in our JS code, anybody can have access to it. So that's the reason we create our simple backend, just to connect to our AI API using our API key. So I'm going to create the Node.js code, but let me change this to our Node.js URL so that I don't forget like the last time. So let me create the code to connect to the backend. So to connect to the AI API in our Node.js backend file. This is our Node.js code to connect to the AI API. So a little instruction on how to run the code is described here. So we are going to run this on our timeline, our command line on our terminal. So these are what we do to connect to our AI API. We need to use our express. Then that means we have our express to be imported when we run this code. So we are going to create the app connection by accessing our express API to run our code. So we force express to use JSON, and we also access the course. So you put your valid API key here. So by posting, we post to the AI API using the post method. So in our post block for Node.js, you see that like what we did in our PHP. So we just access the message which is coming from the front end and then pass the AI API URL. So this is simple. If you have been writing JavaScript before, use fetch in JavaScript. This is a simple way of using fetch in JavaScript, since Node.js is also JavaScript. So it's like you are writing your JavaScript. So here if we define our port in any environment, this is going to pick it. But if it's not available, we are assigning port 3000. And this is going to run. That's what we are going to use here to connect to the backend. So that's what we need to do on Node.js. Now we are going to run on our terminal whichever code we need to start the Node.js with. So let's open the terminal. I'm clearing the terminal so that we have minimal. So I'm going to start. So remember, I told you for you to use Node.js as your backend, you must install Node.js 18+. And then if you don't have npm, you have to install it as well for you to run this Node.js code. So first I'm going to restart this VS Code because our terminal is not responding as we intended it to respond. Coming. So now we are going to start by typing npm init we are initiating our npm. So this will also download npm for you if you don't have it already. So we are going to run this, and this is not going to generate another folder for us, which is packages, but let's do it. So can you see this generates new file for us called package.json, and it define our basic field that we need for this file. So that's not where we are going. That is needed for Node.js code to run. So we are going to install Express, okay, and install Node.fetch. Okay, so npm install Express Node.fetch. We need to install us too because we are going to use it. This may take a while because that's faster. So we've installed new 73 packages. This is what created modules for us. These are the modules that are needed for the code to run. So since we have that in place, what we need to do now is to run our Node.js code. Node backend.js. So can you see? So this is going to start the Node.js code in this spot. So we have already used the backend here. So in that case, let's go to our front end. We are using this. We are not using because we are not using PHP anymore. We are not using PHP anymore. So we are using this. Even this will now run again because the PHP server is no more running. Okay. So this is what we are going to use, our live server. Okay. So since we have our backend in place, but you see that this will not go because we don't have our API key set yet. So I'm going to set my API key. You won't see that, sorry. You have to use your own API key. So I'm going to restart my Node.js code. I've changed my API key. So let's try that again. Let's say hello to our chatbot. For our Node.js version, my system is 22 plus version. So because of that, our fetch, the way I'm calling the fetch, is going to give us error because that's the way it is called in the previous Node.js prior to version less than 18. So my Node version here is 22 plus. So in that case, we don't need this line because the new Node.js already has fetch proof polyfill that is already existing. So if we use that, it's going to tell us fetch is not a function, error. So which I'm going to retest the AI chatbot using our Node.js backend. But let me change the API key for us to run it again. So once you put your valid API key, try to restart your Node.js by running node backend.js file. So once you do that, you have your Node.js backend in place to connect to your AI API. So if I say hello to our ChatGPT, yeah, so we have ChatGPT responding to us using Node.js backend. So I can just ask a little bit question like, can you tell my environment temperature? Let's see if ChatGPT is capable of telling me this. I don't think so because there's no sensor. So can you see? I can't directly access sensor to check your guidance. So however, I can suggest a few ways to do that. So it gives us little solution since it cannot do that for us. So we have our AI chatbot in place using Node.js as our backend. So this is as simple as that. So look at our code, our backend. So in the next lesson, the next part of this lesson, I'm going to show you how to connect to the backend, AI backend using Python. So for now, we have our Node.js backend, PHP backend, and we have our UI in place. So thank you. I'll see you in the next part of the lesson to show you how to connect to your AI using backend as the backend, Python as the backend. Thank you. Goodbye.